why the company was so interested in this rock. I could see on the monitor, it was a graveyard. Then I figured it out. It probably had something to do with this giant alien ship. I had a bad feeling about this. The rest of the crew didn't share my concerns, even though all signs pointed to trouble. Like, what the hell was that thing? Some kind of god? The computer said the temperature was rising fast. Wonder what the expiration date was on these eggs. I can't even imagine what it smelled like. The pig must have loved it, though. In hindsight, the doc was a bit excited about this situation. Cutting this thing off his face didn't seem like a great idea, but time was running out.
And then it's not only a narrative renaissance, it's also a, I wouldn't say an industrial renaissance, but you are saying that the way we tell the stories, the way we shoot, the way we think, we imagine, is completely transformed.
It could be. It really could be. I mean, if you think about the way a series is made right now,
yeah,
you know, if it's a great series, you have great writers. They try to think it out across 1, 2, 3 seasons, 4. It's always tricky. You get into that 3rd season, then you're trying to get up to 4 or 5, and you're like, are you going to get lost in the woods around season 3, right? And then, like, oh no, we don't know where to go, right? And so that is also a separation between good and great and knowing when to stop. You know what I mean? But you could imagine, right, where the writers do understand where engagement is happening better than they do today. And there could definitely be like a relationship with the viewer fan that is different than any we've had up to this date, you know. And I'm not saying that like the fans are telling the storyteller where to take the story, but they certainly should and could influence it, take it down. And there is even, it's plausible to imagine that, like, let's say I love this series, but I love this character, and now I want to go in this totally different direction. I'd love to follow this character down some other
spin-off of the series.
You could imagine that, like, once the foundation of the rules of the world, the characters, you could imagine that you could start doing branches.
Actually, it happened in pop music. People were following the Beatles. Then some of them decided that Paul McCartney was because they split. But you imagine, let's say, in music, you have many of these type of.
But imagine that generative AI allows the master storyteller to deliberately allow their series to branch in many directions once they've laid out their rule set, right? Once they've, and then it's like, okay, now maybe the
it's the Mandalorian. Mandalorian comes from Star Wars, and he's a kind of lonesome cowboy, but from the Star Wars saga, and he's having his own path. So it's
Star Wars. I worked for Lucasfilm for 5 years. I worked with the story group, right? So when we were working with them, working with them, I was able to see, I saw this with Matrix, like, okay, we're going to tell stories of characters in places. And imagine just you have this whole matrix of like places, people, destinations, and time, right? And you could really like just chart out Star Wars stories. It's like, oh, we're going to tell it in the beginning, middle, or end. We're going to use these characters. We're going to cut across these different media types. And if you could think that way, you could potentially open up an infinite amount of branching. But again, it's about the authorship in the start, right? Like, and then like see where it wanders. I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of media that will start to be made like this, and it'll be done good and bad, but it's a completely new opportunity for a world builder storyteller to think about.